And hey, what is up, everybody? We are the Story Crafters. If you notice, there's only me and Jared here tonight. Life has gotten both Nicole and Charlie, and I mean, if you're feeling it, we're feeling it too. It's just that season of life right now. But
on by a thread.
Jared and I wanted to kind of take this still and introduce what we've been talking about in prior episodes, what we've been hinting at as side quests, which are just going to be small form episodes. I mean, we're just kind of doing this is the first one we're doing, so I'm thinking it'll probably be around 30 minutes, more or less. I'm thinking a quick, you can listen to it to work instead of a to and from work type episode.
Unless you want to listen to it twice, in which case we got you. You can
more than welcome to do that. But yeah, so with these, we're going to kind of change things up a little bit too. We're not going to roll initiative. We're not going to have like a lore or what we've been up to. Maybe we will as we kind of talk, because these are just more of, hey, pull up a chair next into the tavern and let's all talk. And so we thought today, because we both are starting or have started newish campaigns with our friends and family that they haven't all played before. So we thought maybe it'd be a good idea to kind of take this smaller episode and talk about how we handle players at the table that are new, or maybe they've only played once or twice before, but how do we handle that at our table? So with that, Jared, go ahead and kick us off.
So my new exciting thing that I'm doing, it's called the Vale of Avonlea. I just have 3 players. It's my wife, my brother-in-law, and his wife, my sister-in-law, for those of you really paying attention. And so my wife has played some, and mixed results. She's not a tabletop game person, but she enjoys a good story here and there. And my brother-in-law and his wife have really gotten into D&D with a separate group, and they've played a few times here and there, but it's been very, hit and miss, and a drastically different style than what we're now doing, which has been fun. So they are kind of swooping into an old manor called Rosewatch Hall, where the Knights of Rosewatch once dwelt, now generations removed. So they are in this like coastal, it's very medieval, like medieval England, very much inspired by like knights fighting dragons and all that stuff. Still very much D&D, but I've kind of stripped that down to like, I watched the animated Robin Hood, and I'm man, there's just something about that feel and vibe that I'm just like, that is immaculate. So that is kind of like, that's my reference point of, the feel that I want for the world. But it's been really fun because I've done something half intentionally, half unintentionally. And I'm not at all trying to toot my own horn, but I've written this adventure that we quite literally are doing like an introduction in the world, where I'm really letting them get familiar with their characters and their abilities before we really jump into any major story. So it's like a 2-day journey from Rosewatch Hall to the town of Eld Hollow. And so I've dropped them at Rosewatch Hall, and they've interacted with some people there. They've fought a couple things off in the woods, foraged and gathered supplies so that they could go out on their quest. And then I had a traveling merchant come by and drop a bunch of wanted posters and, side quests and things, some of which they'll get to do on their way into town. But the main story bit there is they've been invited to a dinner by the Duke. And so that is their purpose for traveling there. And I gave them I think I told them they have 6 days to get there is when the Duke is planning this dinner. So it's a 2-day journey and they have 6 days. So I'm like, there's plenty of time for shenanigans. But I've loved that because quite literally I've been able to step by step be like, here's how this game mechanic works. Here's how this game mechanic works. And now they're on horses, which is a whole other game mechanic. So I'm thrilled about that. And I'm like, these are also your mobile inventories. You can load up on these horses. You can pull a wagon if you want to, but there's trade-offs. So it's been really fun. And while we've not gotten there yet, their dinner with the Duke will introduce and kick off the main story arc for the adventure. So it'll kind of be like Mines of Phandelver. I'm grasping for what is that called? Lost Mines of Phandelver. Kind of like that, where it's like it's a little story arc to jump into a bigger adventure, and I've kind of accidentally happened upon it, but I'm so thrilled with how it's going. So I've literally been thinking of it like a video game. It's like you got to get through the intro, and you can do some cool stuff, but you got to get through the intro and learn all the game mechanics before you're really free. And it's worked so beautifully so far that I'm quite literally like, this is what brought this topic on. Jeff and I were talking about this before, is it's like there's something about that new, it's like new car smell. Exactly. Sometimes in a world setting that's just like, oh man, I'm jazzed about it, man. What have you been doing? What have you been up to?
The group that I started to, I have so many questions about what you're doing with this this campaign. The campaign that I started is called the Pearlbound Coast, and so it's taking place in the far western. For me, it's this way. For you guys, it's that way. It's taking place in the far western. Yeah, right. And so it's basically everything in my world, because I am a simple man when it comes to thinking about things. Everything in my world for games happen at the same time. So their campaign is kind of based around these like void pirates. They wanted to do like a pirate campaign without doing like sea travel and stuff like that. So it's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean without the ship battles, if you can think about it. So
pretty sweet. Absolutely.
And so like some stuff happened on the other side of the world, and now they're seeing this like voided corruption that's starting to creep in through the water and things like that.
That's cool.
But yeah, they started the same way with, I have one person that has played quite a bit. But then the other two, it's a small group. I wanted to keep it really small with 3 people, 4 including me. And yeah, you nailed it. It's that new car smell. Like I love that first like character introduction. When you get the person that like, what I try to do is I'm like, okay, like I'll have the person who's played before kind of do like an intro and things like that, so the other 2 can kind of get like an idea of like, oh, we're not reading our character sheet. It's not like, oh, I am a human male with I am a chaotic good. It's like no. Tell us here, what do we see? Is there anything that you want to be distinguished and things like that? And it's just really fun getting to watch the players kind of like light up a little bit when they're like, oh, I can describe it like this, and I can really just kind of like, you can see that moment where it clicks.
And genuinely, I've had so much fun in D&D so many times, so I don't want to be unfair with it, but I genuinely don't know if I've ever had as much fun as when D&D was all still new and fresh, and every single turn was like, what's around this corner, what's under that rock, and I still get that a lot. And as a DM, I've even found ways that I get that a lot, but there's no trade-off for just that, like, it's almost like a childlike excitement that you get to witness the first time they're getting to do things, and like, oh cool, that's how that can work. And that's really fun. The character introductions for me were tricky because nobody was super gung-ho about being the first one, because none of them had a lot of experience. And I knew that going in. So what I actually did for this one is when we first met the characters, they were en route actually back from a funeral from the matriarch of the Rosewatch Hall. So I kind of gave them a purpose, and they were on their way back. So it's like, you're getting some of this history. It very much reminds me of the opening in Skyrim, where it's like you're on a cart going somewhere,
Oh, you're finally awake.
You're finally awake. Who are you? But that was fun, and I had a couple NPCs with them that were their friends, and I'm like, you've known these people, but you don't know them well, and I kind of broke the fourth wall a little bit, and I was like, quite literally, right now, you know about these characters what you yourselves know. Your characters may know more, but we'll discover it together. Because the reality is I also don't know as the DM. I have these NPCs planned, and I know their characters as well as they can be known. But so it was really fun having them in motion, and then we pretty quickly got into combat, so that kind of alleviated the, okay, how do I talk to this person? How do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the benefit of all these people know each other, you know. My wife and her brother obviously grew up together, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun, but I thought it was good giving them a purpose. And this was, I think, my first time having, funnily enough, having an NPC kind of guiding alongside them and not being more like a barkeep that's like, so what do you want, or here's your quest. It was kind of fun to have it be kind of already in motion as I always say, you know, we're going to pan over here and when we first meet the characters, because it's like the implication is, you know, they've been around. But and I started mine at level 2. What did you do?
We started at 1. Just to really get the basics of how to build a character from scratch. So 2 of the 3 people, all 3 of them at one point did work with me, but 2 of the 3 people still work with me. So like on my lunch break and stuff, I took one of them each day, and we made characters and stuff on our lunch breaks. And yeah, we started at level 1. I gave them the option, like, hey, do you want to be from here? Do you want to be a traveling place? I gave them a copy of the map and everything. All of them wanted to be from the Pearlbound Coast, which is totally fine. But they we have a ranger, a cleric, and what they think is a rogue.
Interesting.
I have one player, the guy who's played a lot. He texted me in the middle of his character intro, like, for those that are listening, if you do actually listen, stop for the next like 10 seconds. He texts me and he's like, I'm giving him a fake name. And I was like,
good.
Okay. And he goes, and a fake class. He's doing this whole like trickery type thing, and I'm like, oh, I am so here for this.
Love that. That's so much fun.
Yeah, the if you go on my Instagram, you can see the set that we made for that game. It's the one that has like the big tower, and there's a ship and the like lighthouse and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, that was the set, and that's where they had their first encounter, where they came across the pirates that were trying to they're trying to steal this void heart, essentially. There's like essences of void power that the pirates are trying to get because of something, and I'm tying all of my campaigns are together. My other campaign, they really messed with this one pirate captain, and instead of giving her a very nice, honest death, instead they tied her to the bow of their ship and just let the waves kind of take her. And she might make a reprise, and she's very dead and very not happy. And so she is kind of becoming like her name is Varela Blacktide, and
that's a very good name.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
What did you use a custom stat block? What did you use for your first encounter?
Yep. I haven't run a traditional stat block in I don't know, man. So I gave them all traditional like bandit stats with
right on.
They're a little bit beefier. I've always found that like level 1 enemies, they hit the appropriate amount of damage, but they're really weak, and they kind of make fights not fun. Squishy. And so like I kind of
it is often the like one hit you're out, you know.
Right. And so like I buff them up a little bit. And like I've already got a guy at level 1 who has an 18 AC. Like, cool.
That's weird.
Which I guess really isn't that too hard to do if you're a cleric and you're wearing plate and have a shield.
Yeah, I say it. You're right. Yeah, clerics and paladins, man.
Yeah.
Heavy armor.
So yeah, and then I gave him all these little I like to kind of, I mean, I've played a lot of like World of Warcraft and stuff growing up, so a lot of my NPCs are very like MMO kind of driven, where I'll have like 3 different types of NPCs. You know, there's the boss one, there's the grunt one, and there's the caster one. You know, things like that. So I gave them all little void spells, essentially, or like gave them these, like, you know, things that fit the setting. And that's something that you can do when you're running, to kind of tie it into the side quest here. When you're running games for new people, for anybody, but let's take new people, no one knows your stat block except you. So if you have some cool stuff that you want to start throwing into your NPCs and stuff, why not guinea pig it with some new players too, for one thing, because they don't know the difference. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but like, you know, you don't know that a bandit doesn't have 2 attacks at level 1.
Right.
You know,
and I think that's the beautiful slider to play with too, is that like knowledge slider of what do I think they know versus I'm always upfront with my players too. I'm just like, we loosely follow a rule system that I call D&D, but it's like there's a lot of gray area at my table for that. But I'm just clear to my players about that. So like I ran, their first encounter was against giant spiders, and I think some were giant wolf spiders at different models. Some were bigger, they had more health, some were smaller, you know, and way squishier. Which that is peak advice, by the way. If you're ever wondering, like, why are my encounters kind of dull, do exactly what Jeff said, and you can have one thing but kind of assign classes to them, or assign you know, character arcs or whatever, not character arcs, but what archetypes to them. Because it can take something that's very monotonous and plain and just shake it up just a little bit more. But that is interesting, and a good point with level 1. Combat is hard, which is why I skipped it, and I went to level 2 with my players. And part of that was the implied, like, you guys have done some things before, like you're not fully green, you know. And now, at the end of session 2, so it was like at the end of their first like long rest back at Rosewatch Hall, they leveled up to level 3, which I loved too, because it gave them a taste of, here's my basic character mechanics and what I can do. And then now everybody's level 3 and everybody got to pick a subclass, and it's like, all right, we're going to go a little crazy now. And that worked out beautifully too, because when you strip it down, whether it's level 1 or level 2, starting without a subclass and making a new player learn the core mechanics and basics of how a D&D character plays, highly recommend. It worked well for me. That's so fun though. How many sessions in are you guys?
We're one in right now. We just started planning our second session. So this group is monthly. And unfortunately, because of the nature of what we all do, we work for universities and stuff, and we have graduation coming up. So we're all very busy in the education world right now. So we're looking at like kind of like a mid-May, maybe, for our second session. But yeah, it kind of like, I don't ever really start campaigns at level 1 anymore if I can help it. I try to start at level 3 or 5. Because I also level slowly.
As do I. Do I typically. This one is a little bit different, you know. I tend to be a little more forthcoming with like levels 1 through 5, and then it tends to slow down a little bit, I find, or even 1 through 4 sometimes.
And something that I will do to offset the slow leveling that I have is a lot of my weapons and armors and like items and things like that have things baked into them. Like you can like, for example, like in my current campaign that I run every other week, they're in a place called Gotheria, which one of the characters is the person who made the character created the world of Gotheria. And basically he was like, hey, this forge is super cool. So then I took that and I was like, all right, well, this forge is like, nothing is stock at this forge. Everything is personalized. So when you buy something, you have to get it handmade by Brenna. And then she will imbue some sort of magical tendency to it or something like that. And in some cases, you can potentially get a spell, you can get a weapon type thing. So you can buy these different things that kind of offset the stagnant, like we're not progressing.
Yeah.
Like, no, you are. It just looks different.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that is interesting too, because in what I always call my main story, the Abyssal Tide, which I've talked about plenty on here, my players are at level 10, 11. I think they're at level 11. And I have like 4 to 6 players in that campaign at any given time. Being pirates, it's a very high fantasy, high magic world. So like I was very forthcoming with the gold and the magic items. And I've continued that because it's a precedent that I chose to set. It becomes a lot in a hurry. So with this one, I've really slowed that down a lot. And I've really I'm going to drip feed the gold and make it feel like every gold coin really has worth, you know?
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, he's playing a tiefling and he's a cleric. And so he doesn't even know what it is yet, but he actually was able to buy an Amulet of the Devout from this traveling merchant. He traded him for the gold that he had and promised a tail, and then a couple other players chipped in with some other, promises and items and stuff. So it was really fun because it kind of became a group effort. He doesn't even know what it is yet. But I'm excited for that because that'll be exactly what you talked about, where it's kind of like a faux level up, Yeah. The other character is playing a Dragonborn sorcerer, and they just fought goblins in the last session. Well, there was one goblin that was up on top of a crumbling tower that was hurling down spells. Well, when they killed that goblin, it fell down. And so when they went over to loot it, they found its staff, but it was broken in two. So I'm like, you find the staff, you can take both parts, but you're going to have to. And so I found that's really fun, where it gives that excitement of, ooh, I just found something, but it's not quite ready to use yet. Which is really fun. And it continues the adventure and keeps that downtime that we've talked about before interesting, gives the player something to do if they're like, okay, well, if I can't, maybe I'm tired of foraging for berries or whatever. It's like, oh, I can work on fixing that staff, which is really fun. But
I want to piggyback off of that real fast, because that exact thing is something that for when you're this is a good way that you can introduce another story arc as well. So we had a session where we were kind of they finished the boss fight. They went back to town. They're doing their town things. Actually, this is before the boss fight. This is before they went to the dungeon. They're trying to get gold. Essentially, they needed gold to be able to buy something. They went to the message board. They found I just had a bunch of random BS. Hey, here's missions for side quests. Your typical, here's 10 side quests. Pick whichever one you want to do. Well, they chose to go after this giant turtle that was basically... This is this huge snapping turtle that was causing havoc amongst the fishermen in the Crystal Lake. Well, they manhandled this thing in one turn. They literally they divided up. One dude got on a tree and dive bombed onto the turtle, grabbed him. My one player, he's playing a hive master. I think it's what it's called, a hive master ranger, the one of the bees. And
Swarm Keeper.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And they had all sorts of fun. They basically all synergized with each other to get this amazing Avengers style. We're just going to take this thing out in one round.
So good.
The artificer, he was like, "Oh, I can make stuff. I'm going to forage the tortoise shell." I was like, "All right, cool, pretty big." He's like, "I'm just going to kind of keep it for a while." And then it led into one of the characters started mentioning, "Oh, my sister Brenna has this forge back home. She could probably make you something with it." So now that has led this whole other story arc for us, leaving our main story to go down into a completely different area. So now there's a new biome, there's new enemies, there's new political systems, there's new all sorts of stuff, all because they did a side quest that he got a tortoise shell and was like, "I want to do something with this." So for your new players, if they pick something up, don't just treat that as something in your inventory. Like, use that as something way to progress the story, increase your character's knowledge of what they're doing, increase the lore behind their character. And it's just really cool that something so mundane as a side quest can turn into something big.
For sure. And I think that's where the fun in the exploration of an early world is. I mean, you still get that, but especially in an early world. And that's what I did with this world setting. And I've done it twice now, because this is what I did for the Tales of Harbor Light 2, which is the adventure that I do with my kids and my wife. But I really just built out the world, and I inhabited it with all the NPCs that I needed to start. And really all I did was get very familiar with how the world functions. How does this NPC interact with this NPC? Yep. And then as my players made their characters, I was like, all right, I can see where this one can plug in. And that's what's been fun for me, is it's really been more of a world building exercise than writing an adventure, because the adventure is kind of writing itself, just like you said. You throw in a side quest, and all of a sudden you've created 3 NPCs that maybe weren't there before, you know? Yeah. My traveling gnome that gave them literally a stack that I handed to my players of, you know, real pieces of paper and scrolls and stuff. Yeah. I left them all vague, and I made him put a bunch of handwritten notes on other things. So it's like there's like 3 layers to some of these side quests, because it's like there's what was originally printed on it, and then he's jotted down a bunch of notes and crossed some things out, and I left a lot of them vague. Like, there's a character that they haven't met yet, who's named Blunk, and it just says Blunk wants teeth, and that's all the note says. And so they asked the character, they're like, who's Blunk? And they're like, oh, you've not met them yet? Well, I won't, I won't take that joy away from you. You'll just have to wait and meet them. And stuff like that, where it's like, okay, now we are aware of this other person, we're aware of this other person, and it's just so much fun. There's nothing quite like that new world adventure, because I'm so excited for them to continue to explore, so I can continue to build things out. And a bit of an aside, but I want to talk about it. I've been doing Hero Forge a lot, and I was talking to Jeff about this before we started recording, but the kit bashing on that, so I'm making custom models for my players of their characters, and then I'm also making them on their mounts. So I gave my players each the option of, like, you can have a horse, and so I let them kind of customize their horse. But now they saved one of the wargs from the goblin encounter that they just had. So the one player who's a tiefling is like, yes, I think I'd rather ride the warg if I can. I'm like, absolutely you can. Here's how we'll go about it. Yes. So I've designed custom models, and I will share them on my Instagram once I've printed them. I might share the digital copy and then take pictures of them once they're printed and painted. But kit bashing things and taking a warg and putting the mini, and the wargs in Hero Forge I find are not close to what wargs look like, but you're able to manipulate it enough and kind of change the proportions. So it's been so much fun, and that is what I'm trying to get to. Is I've been using Hero Forge to design my NPCs. And many of the NPCs for this world I might never print, because I don't necessarily need them on the table, but it has been the best tool for me to get to know how that NPC functions. Because you might realize, oh, maybe they have a hunch, maybe they have an eye patch, maybe they have tattoos all up and down their arm. And those are the things that I find I don't think about if I'm just writing, this is the name and this is kind of their business, So it's been really fun. Time consuming, but it's been so much fun to take some of the major NPCs and create that character model, even if it just stays on the digital space,
it's so cool to see it.
So and it's been fun just to mess around, and a lot of things have changed in the world just because I'm like, I found something on Hero Forge. I'm like, it'd be pretty cool. Let's make that adjustment, So anyway, it's really fun, and I'm excited to be able to bring those to life, because I think that'll mean a lot, because my brother-in-law and his wife are big board game people, not so much TTRPG people. So I'm trying to make sure I have enough, tactile board game type pieces to keep them. I shouldn't even say keep them entertained. They're having a blast, or
but to have them be able to relate.
Yes, exactly right. That's well said. Well said.
Yeah.
But it's just so much fun. There's something to be said, for the people who play Baldur's Gate 3 all the way through and finish it. But I get the people who also have, 27 saves that they're still in Act 1. Because that new shiny feel is right. I did beat the game once. I beat it once. And I probably have double digit other games that are still in Act 1.
Yeah.
There's just nothing quite like that new adventure feel, though. Yeah. And I want to find a way to bottle that and have myself feel that excited about all the other projects that I've going on too. But I mean, it's true. Starting a new adventure, while it is a whole to do and obviously a time sink in itself, it genuinely has fueled my creative fires, and I've been more productive with a lot of my other things. I've had more ideas that I'm really excited about for my other adventures. So maybe it's the most bass-ackwards way possible to get inspired, but it's working. So
yeah. Yeah, man. I'm gonna just say, hey, we're gonna call the episode here. Guys, we're hitting up around 32 minutes of me recording over here with about 4 or 5 minutes of editing to take out. But like I said, I wanted we, because this was not my idea. We all, we wanted this to be kind of like a smaller form episode where we're not just completely slamming you with information and topics and things like that. But we just wanted to be a little bit more stripped down. So let us know what you would like to see from these types of videos and podcasts. Again, this is called, we're calling these side quests. And yeah, let us know what you want to see from these. If you like these, if you don't like them, let us know, because we want to hear from you guys. And yeah, sorry for the lack of motivation there on my face. It is 10:30 over here at night. So Jared, you got anything else for us before we sign off here?
Oh, that was great. Thank you for listening. Sorry for ranting, but start a new world and have some fun. Be creative, y'all. That's all I have to say. Just be creative and let yourself be creative, because life isn't that serious.
Amen. Man, be creative. Life isn't that serious. We are the Story Crafters. I'm Jeff. That's Jared. We will see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.